Left of the box. And then we get into Pierre Poilievre, leader of the Conservative Party of Canada and Prime Minister in waiting. Because it's not just the conservative leaders of provinces, it's also the federal conservative that will do a lot of what the provinces are doing, but on a federal scale. And so Pierre Poilievre has already mentioned things about banning trans women from women areas, blocking hormone therapies and all this sort of stuff. As much as people love to say, oh, jurisdiction, there's a lot of crossover. There's a lot of things that the federal government could be doing to help us right now, for instance. But there's also a lot of things that a conservative federal government can do to harm us that normally would fall within provincial jurisdiction. It's all about funding and crossover and things of that sort. But there are ways that the federal government can get involved and improve our life or make our lives a lot worse. And so here's Pierre Poilievre, who is just, he's a toddler. He's a fucking toddler. And we'll get into some clips about him, but he is just such a pathetic excuse of a leader, and he has a good chance of winning the next election. And so here is David. He is a writer for the Globe and Mail, Washington Post, Jacobin, TVO, so big into that sort of stuff. And he says, I think politicians should legally be required to have several years' work experience before they are elected. Anyway, when did you qualify for your publicly funded pension? Will you give it back to the taxpayers? And he's responding to Pierre Poilievre. Pierre Poilievre is a career politician. He hasn't had any other job than being a politician. He got his pension when he was 31. And here he is saying, sell out. The Jagmeet Singh signed on with Trudeau to secure his pension. So here he's calling the leader of the federal NDP a sellout because he was trying to prop up the Liberals long enough so that he could get his pension. This man, this dweeb, this toddler of an adult who got his pension, tax-funded pension, at 31. He's also a landlord. He's a millionaire. He's rich. Like, he is not one of the little guys. And so here he says, now you're stuck paying the bill with higher tax rates, doubling the housing costs, and crime and chaos. Signed to tell sellout Singh to vote down Trudeau and give Canadians the carbon tax election they want. Funny thing about the carbon tax, and they were all complaining about, ooh, the gas prices. The gas prices have actually dropped significantly this last little while, and you don't hear a peep from them. Because when it comes to a lot of the cost of living things, the government has actually not that much to do with it. It's all about corporate greed. And the government could do more to maybe tap down that corporate greed and get that under control, or offer more socialized services to help compensate for the fact that corporate greed is making life unsustainable. But instead, you just have Pierre Poilievre like, oh no, it's all just the federal Liberals government's faults for the housing crisis, the crime, the chaos, and the crime and chaos isn't what you think it is, and higher taxes, but it's only for certain groups. Like, they always talk about the capital gain tax, and it's like, not too many Canadians make enough to have to worry about the capital gains tax, and yet that seems to be all they focus on. But here he is whining, using names, like, again, you look down at Donald Trump, and he likes to call his rivals names, and so here he has sellout thing. Just absolutely schoolyard, pathetic adulting by this man. And just an example as to who this person is, corporate lobbyists are flocking to Pierre Poilievre's Cash for Access fundraiser. More than 100 active or recent corporate lobbyists have attended the Conservative Party's Cash for Access fundraisers since Pierre Poilievre became leader. Yeah, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre took aim at Canada's corporate lobbyists in a speech a week ago to the Vancouver Board of Trade, saying they were utterly useless and that under Conservative government they would no longer write a policy statement and expect it to be implemented. But in the past weeks and months, his party has in fact widely opened the doors to them. Poilievre has rubbed shoulders with more than 100 active or recent lobbyists at a dozen fundraising events since he became leader in 2022, a breach investigation has found out. Again, not going over the whole article, but it's here for people if you want to read it, but this isn't it. There's also this. From Press Progress, big real estate executives among top donors to Pierre Poilievre Conservative. Real estate executives? What? Wait a sec, didn't he say something about this? Double the cost of housing. He's concerned about that. And yet, here he has real estate executives among the top donors. Well, he is a landlord. Executives at big real estate companies profiting off and even driving up high real estate prices across Canada are listed as donors to the federal Conservative Party Elections Canada records show. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has been railing against high real estate prices and presenting himself as the solution to Canada's housing affordability crisis. Yet Poilievre's party also appears to have received financial support from top executives at some of Canada's biggest real estate investment trusts. So how can we trust this person, this toddler of an adult, to look out for the best interests of people who maybe aren't rich? When all of his top funders, all the fundraising events he does, it's all targeted towards the wealthy. It's all targeted to benefit wealthy individuals already because he's looking out for his own. But Pierre Poilievre has he's developed a style of banter with the press that is just beyond annoying. It is so fucking annoying the way he talks to the press. And he gets away with it. And never before have I seen a leader this fucking childish. He is a toddler in a schoolyard. Like, I wouldn't even say he's like Trump because, yeah, Trump is immature and all this sort of stuff. But the thing is that he still strikes me as an adult. He's an adult that's losing his mind and is a horrible individual. But the way he talks still comes across as coming from an adult. Pierre Poilievre literally comes across like he is standing in a schoolyard. It is beyond pathetic. So Pierre calls on Singh to end deal with the Liberals. So he's trying to get the NDP to stop supporting the Liberals to call for an election early, which I don't want because I'm worried that he'll get elected, that Pierre Poilievre will get elected, that he's the Prime Minister in waiting. I'm not happy with what Jagmeet Singh has done with his, with his ability that he's propping up the Liberals. He hasn't gone nearly far enough. He hasn't pushed for enough policies. I'm not happy with the Liberals either. I'm not happy with any of them. But Pierre Poilievre is he's an exceptionally horrid individual. We're not going to watch the whole clip. It's 9 minutes long, but this is an idea of what to expect when he is he's at a press conference. These are professional reporters he is talking to.
Well, I wouldn't have had to do that in this case. The reason that we have these strikes is because of inflation. We had last year the largest number of days lost to strike since 1986. What do we have in 1986? Inflation. Inflation leads to strikes because workers and unions have to fight to get back what they lost in purchasing power. Well, how did the...
No. Lack of wage increase often leads to strike. Wages that don't meet inflation has a lot to do with strikes.
Inflation happened. The government doubled the debt. Justin Trudeau printed $700 billion of cash.
All provinces that are currently being run by Conservatives their debts have just exploded beyond belief. Conservatives are always whining about debts, but the liberals, generally speaking, are not that bad with debts. Conservatives are horrible. They're horrible, but they're literally lying to you all the time. They're just flat out lying when he's up here. And the press doesn't call him out. They don't say, hey, this is a lie. They don't fact check him at the spot. There's no pushback in the moment. So the people who are watching him because they like him are never hearing the actual truth.
He increased the money supply by 40% while the real economy grew by 4%. When you add money 10 times faster than you add the stuff that money buys, then you get inflation. And that screws.
Maybe try increasing wages. Just saying. Maybe that's where you could help out people, by increasing wages.
Over workers because they live off wages. If you're a billionaire, like the people Trudeau vacations with, then you don't have to worry about inflation.
Like he also vacations with.
Inflation because your assets are inflation proof or even inflation positive. You get richer. It's a transfer of wealth from the have-nots to the have-yachts. And you know,
oh, he nailed that. From the have-nots to have-yachts, says the landlord. That was some real smart words there. It kind of rhymed. The have-nots to the have-yachts, and Justin Trudeau is the have-yachts kind. Unlike Pierre Poilievre, who is a millionaire receiving a pension at 31 and never had to hold down a real job in his entire life.
You know what? It's ironic. It's all done with Jagmeet Singh's support. He can huff and puff all he wants, but he supported the inflationary policies that destroyed the wages of working class people, and he supports what Justin Trudeau did on the rail strike. Do you know how we know? Do you know how we know that? Do you know how we know that? No. Do you know how we know that Jagmeet supports it? Because he's...
Okay, so he said Jagmeet several times already. He should know that's not how you actually pronounce his name. It's Jagmeet. Jagmeet Singh. Jagmeet has actually put out videos about it, and he actually had a very adorable way to help people remember how to say his name, because he said, think jug like hug. And actually, yeah, that did help me. So it's Jagmeet Singh. Pierre knows that. He knows that. So he's purposely saying his name wrong. And again, this is the thing that the Conservatives do. It's a way of disrespecting the people that they're working with by intentionally not pronouncing their names right.
Still in a coalition with them. And if Jagmeet didn't support it, he would respond to my letter this afternoon and say he's pulling out of the costly coalition and he's going to vote to bring down Trudeau and cause a carbon tax election. And that's what I'm calling for him to do today. Jagmeet Singh, stop selling out the workers. Stop being sellout Singh. Put the people ahead of your pension. Vote.
Just the way that he's now addressing the camera, like he's talking to him, like he's on some sort of goddamn talk show. Stop being a sellout. Stop putting your pension first. My pension just happened to start at the age of 31, and, I have taxpayers paying for all my expenses. But this guy is such a fucking dweeb. The way that he's I'm trying to think of what is comparable to the way he addresses the camera. Because it's almost like a TV, a fictional TV character politician with bad acting skills, in the movie, trying to say, and this is what we will do for the party, and we will stand up. It's kind of like, I don't know, imagine the Independence Day speech said completely monotone and without any emotion whatsoever, and looking directly in the camera, and you were talking directly to the aliens and we will take you down, and we will survive, and we will make it through this, because you're aliens, and I need to come up with a funny name for you, because that's how we fight back.
for a carbon tax election now.
It's all catchphrases and name
contraceptive gratuite et l'insuline presque gratuite. Pilule,
almost free
insuline, est-ce que vous allez garder ces programmes en place?
Would you keep those programs in place? Yes or no?
À ce que je sache, ces programmes n'existent pas
As far as I know, those
encore.
programs don't exist.
Ils font des promesses.
So he's talking about programs and things of the sort. One disgusting thing in particular, I don't know if I actually put anything in here about that one, is he's already talking about how Justin Trudeau spent all this money on a lunch program for school kids, and just like, it's a waste of time, and not a single lunch has even made it to the kids yet. That's how disgusting Justin Trudeau is. He spent millions on this school lunch program, and not a single lunch has even made it to the kids. Well, that's because that program was announced last spring when school was about to be out. School started today. So yeah, when Justin Trudeau announced it, there wasn't enough time to implement it for that school year. So it's starting this year. And this asshole voted against the lunch program. He thinks school kids should be fine if they don't have money and they can just go to school without lunches. You know, a federal, a countrywide school lunch program is a good thing. Credit where credit is due. That's a good thing from the Liberals right there. The school lunch program that this asshole voted against, and is now saying that Justin Trudeau wasted money on it and not a single lunch has been sent out to a kid because the program hasn't even fucking started yet.
It does exist. Answer? Excuse me, sir. May I answer?
Vous allez voir le plateforme électorale que
You're going to see the election platform that I will put forward as soon as there is an election. But for the time being, we have nothing but promises. Promises from the Liberals, from the Coalition, and the NDP, and the Bloc. That if they spend more, one day there's going to be great gifts for everyone. They have already promised. I'm not going to allow you to interrupt me. I'm going to give you my complete answer. It doesn't exist yet.
Combien de personnes ont reçu ça?
How many people have received that?
Combien?
How many?
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 Combien?
How
Vous
many?
voulez pas répondre non plus parce
That really happened. Combien? 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 How many? How many? Because what this guy does is, if a reporter says, there are some people that have said that you are against this policy, then it's suddenly, how many people have said that? Who are they? Where are they? What are their names? How many people? How many people? How many people think I'm an asshole? I'll give him a number. But like, that's what he does all the fucking time in these press conferences, is whenever a reporter says something about, you know, people say this or polls are showing this, it's suddenly, what are their names? Who are they? What poll? Give me the facts. Give me the details. I'm not going to answer you until you give me like specific details of all these little things that he knows. He knows. And he will just sit there and then tell reporters that they're horrible people to their faces, that they're lying. He'll ask, oh, what news network do you come from? So you're obviously fake news. And he will accuse reporters of just trying to interrupt him if they try to correct him or clarify or get him to clarify a question. And he'll just be like, you're interrupting me. No, how many people are you talking about? How many? How many? How many? How many? How many? No, I'm not going to let you, you know, get me to have to rephrase my answer so that it shows that I'm lying to people. Like, that's all he does. This is like schoolyard level of arguing. It's because of men like him I didn't want to have babies. Because the thought of having arguments like that, where, you know, you're talking to a child and all they do is repeat back the same thing over and over and over again, would drive me fucking nuts. And here we have an adult man, a politician, a millionaire, doing this with the press. Just fucking childish.
For everyone. They have already promised. I'm not going to allow you to interrupt me. I'm going to give you my complete answer. It doesn't exist yet. How many people have received that? How many? 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 You don't want to answer either.
Could you imagine him negotiating with like other countries? It's hard to understand how anybody can watch him and think to themselves, gee, this is the leader I want to have on representing this country. Like this type of little whiny brat.
They have already promised. I'm not going to allow you to interrupt me. I'm going to give you my complete answer. It doesn't exist yet. How many people have received that?
Combien personnes? Combien personnes? So he already said 3 times up to that point.
How many? 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 You don't want to answer either. Can I respond? I can't answer if you keep interrupting me. You've asked a false question, and you admit that is because when I asked you how many pills have been shared with people, you can't answer because the answer is probably 0. I'm going to complete my sentence. We can't keep something that does not exist. That's my answer. Thank you.
Well, he's a politician with no spine, so if we can't keep things that don't exist, then really he should go. What an absolute fucking child. But just a reminder as to who this person is. Back when he was running to become the leader of the party, the Federal Conservative Party, that leadership run was during the Freedom Convoy, the occupation of Ottawa, when you had a whole bunch of those raging racist right-wingers occupying and terrorizing Ottawa. That's Pierre Poilievre right there, marching with them. Leading the march, actually, while he was running to become leader of the Conservatives.
They've been good? Yeah, they've been helping us monitoring traffic flow and stuff like that. And
just proudly marching with the Freedom Convoy truckers who terrorized Ottawa. And the funny thing is that I can post these clips about Pierre Poilievre and I'll get more views on those than I will other videos because of the amount of people who hate watch them.